New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, and I got no reprieve. Oh dear. What can the trouble be? Johnny's so late at the fair. You know, when you got one in the center, how the hell can you aim at the center? Now I'm afraid of the center. Yeah. Center fear it's called. I just invented a new archery disease. Okay, so New Year's Eve, hope you guys are having a good time. And I just thought that I've got nothing to do, so I'd come in and take a couple of shots and shoot the breeze for a while. Was wondering how John was doing. He seems to be having trouble. You know, I'll tell you, living with a woman is the most difficult thing that you'll ever do in your life. And just give it a try, because it's what makes the world go round. But, yeah, it's very difficult. People have this trait about doing tit for tat, you know. She's upset or he's upset. And, oh, if you do this, then I'll do that. You know, I'll hold back a hug. I'll teach you, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it's a big problem. You know, people open their mouths and say things they shouldn't say, and you can't take it back, you know. Feelings are hurt. It's too bad, really, because life could be good for everybody, including Robin Hood. Anyhow, I wonder how May Marion's doing today. So I took a couple shots down the hall here, and I think it's kind of, yeah, so there's a real tight group there. Anyhow, hope you guys are having fun tonight. Talk to you in a minute. Okay, guys. For today's lesson, I'm going to tell you about the most important thing that I know of in archery. There's a lot of different steps, you know, your stance and your posture, how you grip the bow, all these things. But this is what I think is the most important thing, and that is my right hand. You know, my right hand is made up of a thumb and fingers. And it's what I do with this right hand that makes all the difference in the world. I use the Occipital Anchor. That's what I call it. The occipital bone comes around the back of the head, no matter how you pronounce it. And it joins up where the ear and the jaw and the neck join. There's a little spot right there. And that's where the pad of my thumb goes. That's my permanent anchor. That is my anchor, not the corner of my mouth or the lower back tooth or any of these things. Those are confusing things, and I'll show you why. If I put my thumb on the back of my jaw, I can move my fingers. See how I can move my fingers up and down, back and forth? There's a lot of movement there, adjustment. But now, if I put my fingers at the corner of my mouth, what adjustment do I have? None, unless I move my head or tilt my head or do something. Nothing, no adjustment. But with the pad of your thumb behind your ear, and remember our ancestors drew to the ear, behind the ear, you can adjust corner of the mouth, no adjustment. Much harder to aim. Now, the other thing is, because the fingers can move, when we've got it anchored, we can adjust the arrow. You see how the arrow is adjusted? I have quite a bit of adjustment. So if I put that behind my ear, and I want to, and I see my arrow is pointing off that way, because it's behind my ear and the back of the arrow is under my eye, I can tell that the tip is off. So watch. It's on. That's how easy it is in this system. But if I was on the corner of my mouth, I couldn't do that unless I turned my head, started tilting. But if I anchor at the corner or the back of my jaw, it's on. What if I get back and I find I've relaxed my fingers, but it's still off just the tiniest little bit? I can just adjust it with the left. The right hand does 90% of the aiming. It will just let you point right at the target. It's great. But if it's still off a little bit, 10% can be from your left hand, and it will just make the final adjustment. Anyhow, that's what I have to say. I think that that's the most important thing I have in my arsenal of aiming, is to get a permanent anchor in the occipital position at the back of the jaw, and then just relax my fingers until the arrow points at the target. I'm not trying to touch a spot on my face. I'm not trying to touch the corner of my mouth or the back tooth, or the apex of my jaw or any of these things. I'm simply relaxing my arm, and the fingers will radius, and you'll be on. So you give that a try. I've said it a few times. If you can't catch on to that, well, too bad for you. Just go out and have fun. But if you can comprehend how that works, and you're looking at the target, the only way you can line the tip up is if you're looking at the target. Don't look at the tip. Anyhow, okay, back in a minute. Hope you got that, guys. Heard something fall. Had to try twice for that one. But, yeah, guys, these principles that I'm showing you, they really do work. Get that pressure in that hand and really just allow that bow to be pulled around by pressure. It really will help. Get your thumb behind the jaw. Relax your finger so that you can see that arrow goes straight. And if you follow those principles, you'll see that we've got down here. Real nice tight little groups. That's all you need to do. Relax that right hand. Let the fingers radius. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. You know, if you're having a good day, just appreciate it. Be grateful for what you got. Be grateful for what you got, boys. Could always be worse. Some of our friends aren't doing so good. So, just be grateful. But anyhow, shot the little opossum, and then the raccoon, and then the piggy, and then the deer, and then we took a shot at that, but it got hit and rolled over, but there's a feather in that. But anyhow, we got that. So just be grateful for what you've got and every little hit you get. Okay, back in a minute. Okay, guys, here's something that's kind of interesting. There was a aluminum sign over by my property a little farther east, and when the sign was no longer valid, my son actually took a couple of shots at it. So you'll see that he used a two-bladed arrow here, and you can see that he's got a field point here. Now, let's just take a look at what happened to the metal. The two-blade, it came through, and probably in an inch or so, it stopped. But the field point, if you look, just smashed right through, just came out the other side. So in this case, penetration was actually better with the field point, which would actually seem more like a bodkin than with the two-bladed hunting point or horse point or man point. So, isn't that interesting? Okay. Anyhow, bodkins are dangerous. Back in a minute. Okay, guys, so let's take a couple shots from this angle. Okay, hopefully you can see that right into the occipital position, or if that's confusing, the back of the jaw, and allow the fingers just to relax so that the arrow starts to point at the target. And that's what we're doing. And if you do that, you'll find that you should be able to get some pretty good hits. And here we have some pretty good hits. That's all you need to do. Listen to what I'm saying. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. Whack the camera, of course. But anyhow, I'm just going to take 3 shots at a time, It just takes too long otherwise. What's the big deal tonight? Big deal tonight is the control of that right hand. You need to do exercises. You have to have strong hands, so maybe I'm just barking up the wrong tree. If you have weak hands, you can't do this anyhow. But it's this right hand that when the arrow is allowed to point at the target, if it's off, point at the target. It's such a simple principle, but it's real hard to do. And also, if nobody has told you to do that, then you wouldn't know it. But I'm telling you to do it. So that's what you do. And when you do that, you'll get your hits. Okay, boys. Back in a minute. Three's enough. After that, your concentration goes down. That's what Byron Ferguson used to say. It's probably true. The whole thing is that I need to get back to a permanent anchor so that I can pivot on my thumb and allow these fingers to line up that arrow. I do my final adjusting with the left. All these other things are just incidental, how you put your feet or your knee or 2 or 1 eye or split finger or 3 under and so on and so forth. All open for debate. But this thing that I'm telling you about the right hand being in control and that the fingers will pivot on that thumb. And as you can see, there's nothing wrong with these hits. So there may be something in what I'm saying. Okay, boys, Back in a minute. Okay, guys. The pleasure is all mine. Okay, so a few more little shots down there. After a while, it becomes more of a simple idea. In the beginning, because you don't know the end, of course, you're confused. But in the end, basically, you want to be able to see that arrow from the back to the front. I found that if I put my thumb behind my jaw, in what I call the Occipital Position, and relax my fingers, I can see that arrow straighten out. I just press forward from there, and we get fairly good results. Here, again, we're just just shooting enough that we feel comfortable. Okay, back in a minute. Okay, guys, I had one guy in particular talking about slingshots, and I have a simple little slingshot that I play with once in a while. Basically, it's similar to shooting a bow in that you can use an anchor point. You've got a big spring there. So I was showing you that because I have two kinds of ammo. There's the little ball bearings, metal ones, and I also have these little clay ones. Something that I've noticed about this particular slingshot is that it tends to shoot to the left. So I just use a principle of aiming off to the right a little bit, like that. So it's just off-center aiming, just like you can use on a bow when you use your knuckle or something like that to aim from. Yeah, just aim slightly off to the right, and it's right on there. Yeah, that's it. So anyhow, that's something that you can keep in mind, that if you shoot a slingshot, yeah, that's perfect. You can shoot it very similar to a bow. If it's shooting off to the left, you can aim to the right a little bit. Same kind of principle. Anyhow, that was a blast for a minute. Okay, back in a minute. Okay, guys, so show and tell time, I guess, but Christmas, my younger son, Daniel, bought me a Christmas present. So he got me this CO2 gun that uses these CO2 cartridges. They go inside the handle, and it's fairly realistic looking and has regular iron sights. A quick look, you wouldn't really be able to tell that this wasn't a real gun. I guess because it is a real gun. It's a real BB gun. It also has a little magazine, and you can see the BBs in the side. BBs are very inexpensive also, you know. And I have shot it once and over at Dan's, and it's really pretty good. You get the BBs in little containers like this, and there's a little bit of a grease that you will put on the top of the container so that it doesn't damage the little pin that's in the gun. And I just have a little bit of oil that I'll just drop inside my pellet rifle also. But anyhow, yeah, so perhaps not tonight, but pretty soon we'll check out this CO2 replica. Far out. Well, thank you, son. Anyhow, back in a minute. Just plop them in there. You know, relax that hand. Let that arrow start to point at that target. It's not impossible to do. Forget this permanent anchor on the corner of the mouth or the back tooth. It's not versatile. Anchor back here on your, behind your ear, on your thumb. It's very versatile. It's important. This is very hard to control. This is very easy to control. And I'll just drill it into you. But anyhow, when you do that, you'll get your hits. You'll become consistent. Pay attention. Back in a minute.